episode 1. I just have a bunch of questions for you here listed. Are you ready to start firing some questions and answers?
Let's do it. Let's get
All right,
started. What are we
let's
talking
send it.
about today, Carl?
Just give us a little background, how you started with poker. What's your background? I know you're Polish.
I'm Polish. So
Oh.
my both my parents are Polish,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad is half Lithuanian and half Polish.
Okay.
So yeah,
So you're born here, I'm guessing.
born here. I spent most of my life just traveling from place to place. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really never was in a single place for a very long time. I was always bouncing from city to city. I was born all the way in Illinois, and then I moved to Wisconsin, and then I moved to California, and I lived in California for the majority of my life. I would say for the last 10 years or so, and then I moved to Florida just recently, about 3 years ago.
What's the reason? Was your dad military?
No, it's we just my dad does a lot of business, a lot of work like that. He also does some work in the film industry. He works for Paramount. So he would travel around for work and stuff like that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, we never just could find a place that we really liked, I guess, or at least from my parents' perspective.
Nice. Next question is, when did you move to Florida?
3 years ago. I think it's been about 3 years
Oh,
at
wow.
this
It's
point.
only been 3 years. I didn't know that.
Yeah, only 3 years.
Wow. Okay. How did you start with poker? How were you introduced to the game?
Honestly, I watched. I was always big into chess. I played a lot of chess. And I think just because it's sort of similar, I saw a bunch of videos on YouTube that
Mhm.
were those pop up oh, Phil Ivey, Daniel Negreanu, those type of videos that really caught my attention. I was like, hey, this game looks kind of interesting.
How many years was that?
That was I would say 3.5 years ago. It was really right before I moved to Florida from California. I
So
just started learning
2019, 2018, like right
uh
before COVID?
2019, 2020, around that time. I was about 18, 19 at the time.
But before that, you had no clue what poker is. Like you never played.
Never played, had no clue.
So you started in chess, saw poker on YouTube. Okay, how did you start playing? When did you start?
Started playing, actually, I was playing in California. Before I moved to Florida, I would play 10 tables of poker of play money. How for fake money, I was playing on Poker Stars. They have an app, and you can play for no money. And I would play just 10 tables of that
10
for fun.
tabling for free money.
And
I've never
it was
heard that one before.
fun for me. I just was learning the game. I was crushing it in the play money streets, and that's where
Millionaire on poker.
billionaire in the the play
Damn.
money chips.
Okay, what attracted you? I mean, I know you have a background in chess, so I guess strategy and solving problems that's what attracted you to the game?
I think as far as attraction to the game goes, it's kind of always been something I've done my entire life. Ever since the start, the games I play were always strategy games. I wasn't the kind of guy who liked the shooter games or anything like that. It was always games that were competitive or strategy games that were the ones that I would enjoy. And I spent a lot of time playing games growing up in, my generation. I think that's pretty common. And also I was big into sports as well. And there's, I did basketball. I was captain of the swim team. I did tennis. I did a lot of sports.
Did you say swim team?
Swim team. Yeah, I did swim team
wow.
too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't.
I was a big swimmer back in the day, never competed, but I lived on the beach and I was summertime. Yeah. Okay. Next thing is, how did that translate to first of all, did you have any friends in poker at that time? 2019, you said.
Never. No.
How did it translate to live poker? When did you start playing? And what form of poker did you start playing in? Did you start with cash, tournaments, both?
Yeah. So let me recall this really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check exactly when this was. So, okay, yeah. 2021. And this was let me
2021. So after COVID.
2021, it was, I believe, April of 2021. It was like early 2021. And I was working in a restaurant at the time. I was working for a restaurant called BJ's. I was working as a server and a busser. And those were like most of the jobs I was working back then. I was working in the food industry. Like I was trying to make money off tips. It was like good money for my age, just like working a service industry job basically. And then like in between shifts, because I was, seeing all these YouTube videos pop up, I was like, hey, poker, I tried it back in California, but in California, I had to be 21 to play poker. So I never had the chance. I actually wanted to go to a casino. And then I was like, they rejected me. They told me I have to be 21. And, and then I moved to Florida. And then I was like, hey, it's 18 to play poker here in Florida. I was like, you know what? I can check this out. So I went to the Silks Casino. That was the first
time
I ever played
first
with.
time.
I believe this was April 2021.
It takes guts to sit at a table first time with no friends, nothing. You just decide to go.
It was really intimidating. I was really scared to be there. I was like nervous, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who are these people I'm going to be playing with.
Completely new environment, of course.
It's a completely different world is poker. And I remember I chopped my first 3 tournaments I've ever played. I was really proud of it. And I was like,
you start playing tournaments. You jumped in.
So I was like, after that point, I was like, hey, maybe I could be good at this.
So why did you choose tournaments? Because most players start playing cash and then they might transfer to tournaments for some odd reason, but nobody starts playing tournaments. What made you pick tournaments?
I think from the start, I always enjoyed the feeling of progression and the feeling of winning a tournament and getting to that final table stage. I think it's always been something for me. Like when I play cash games, it doesn't really feel like I'm working towards a goal. And in tournaments, it really feels like you're accomplishing something. And I enjoy it.
I'm totally with that. But like when you start, you don't know the difference. You don't know the difference between cash and tournaments. You know what I'm saying? I've never heard of I'm sure there's cases out there, but most players start in cash and then they do the transition later on. It's very few players start in tournaments right away. That's interesting. I'm learning.
It might have been the buy-in, because when I first started playing poker, I remember very clearly I had about $5,000 in my bank account, and I think the investment that you put in when you're playing a cash game is like, it's like $200. If sometimes, $400 or $500 when you're just starting out. But when I'm playing a tournament and it's only $55, it's easier to convince yourself to invest that first $55 than it is to invest $200 or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Very, very interesting. The first time I met you was at Silks, and we were playing like a low buy-in. I had no clue who you were. I thought you had potential from your table presence. That's one of your signature move or attribute, whatever you want to call it. But like you took it to the next level now.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows now. What made you have that? Like first of all, who are your influences as far as like poker players? Who were you influenced by? Who do you think is a crusher that you watched, on YouTube or whatever? Who was your influence, and where did you get that whole posture and presence? Where did you get that from? And how much work did that take? Because that alone takes a lot of work and focus to be in that zone and mental state. It's actually intimidating to watch. When you're sitting like that, it's intense. There's so much intensity going on. When other players, it's how they perceive you. They perceive you like somebody very serious about the game, and it's intimidating for other. It's different than somebody that's like moving in their chair and looking around and bored while you're there fidgeting, while you're there sitting. Your signature move, just tell the audience, or whoever never played with you, hands down, kind of like Bonomo / a little bit of David Peters, but more Bonomo or what's his name, the Australian crusher, Adamo.
Yes.
They have that signature hands off the table. So you have that stance. So where did that come from?
Well, I just mentioned his name is Adamo. Adamo has always been like one of my favorite poker players ever to watch. I've watched him for so long, online, live. I really like, it's no surprise that my favorite players are also like the most aggressive poker pros that are out there. Like my two favorite players is Michael Adamo and if you know Artur Martirosyan.
Yeah.
Favorite
He's
poker
Armenian, like me.
Yes. So I love those guys to death. And Michael Adamo has been my biggest inspiration when it comes to my table presence. And I think it really, really matters a lot. Obviously, as a
It
poker
does.
professional, I think it's kind of our job to take the game very seriously. It should be a thing where if you're a professional, I don't think you should be like spending much time. Like I think it's a very common leak that pros do is they spend way too much time on their phones distracted. And I think it's one of my biggest, skills is I'm really, really good at honing in that focus, that high level of focus and intensity. And that really helps me observe all the sorts of information that you can find. Like sometimes like the things that I'm capable of doing when I'm really like locked in and focused, like it sounds crazy.
It's not.
Unless
I have a couple
then,
pointers to add once you're done.
I just want to say that like that level of focus, I've seen it inside of myself that I'm able to do things nobody else can really do unless they're also doing the same thing. Because I'm seeing things nobody else is seeing. I'm paying attention to every single detail of what's going on, and that really gives me another level of edge that other people aren't finding because they're not as serious as and as focused as I am.
I agree.
I think it's a strong strength.
A little side note. I was watching Jonathan Little, and he had an interview. Who was he interviewed? I was watching it on YouTube a couple days ago. The show is called Table One. It's a good show. You should. I don't know if you've watched it before. It's two guys. They stream from Aria. They sit in a room in Aria, and the show is called Table One, and they're actually sitting at Table One in Aria. So they were interviewing Jonathan Little, especially after this controversy that happened with him and Berkey. I don't know if you heard about it. That's all over Twitter. Berkey was talking shit.
A little bit, not much.
Yeah, Berkey was talking shit about Jonathan Little's coaching, and Negreanu was defending him. But anyway, my point is, he said that he used to be the player that would sit down at a table and not talk to anyone. He would not talk to anyone at the table, be silent, focused. And he said that he saw a different side of poker, that you should be having fun at the table. But then he was talking about how he has a side income now from, pokercoaching.com, all his products, all his books. So, well, what he didn't mention is the people that are going up in the ranks right now, they don't have that leisure of other side income. Like you, for example, you don't have a side income that's coming in, money that's coming in. So all you do is poker. You have to be the guy that doesn't talk to anyone. So a lot of people say, "Oh, this is boring," and like this, poker should be fun, and it's it's fun for somebody that has a side income, that has a job. But if this is your job and you want to do it at your best, if you want to perform at 100%, you have to bring that type of focus to the table. Like there's so much information going through your head in a hand that you can't. Like I see some people drinking, and some of these people actually have results. I don't want to name names, but I was playing the main event. Couple guys at the table were drinking. One of them is actually a crusher.
Which main event are we talking about?
I'll mention his name, Caldo.
Okay.
He's actually a people's person. Like he knows how to be nice with everybody at the table, but at the same time he exploits it. So he kind of gets you off your game, but he's going to exploit you later in a hand. So he plays his A game while he's drinking, while he's nonstop talking at the table. It's not annoying. Obviously, it's interesting stuff about sports, whatever, but he's the opposite of you, you and me. Me and you, we want to get in that flow state. I can't get in that flow state. Flow state is, I don't know if flow state is like a state of focus that's like next level. And you can't bring it every time you're at the table. You have some times where you don't get enough sleep. Your food is off. Sometimes your mood is off. And you can't get the times I'm in that state, I'm performing at my best and I'm always getting results. But it's hard to bring it day in and day out. It's especially when we play like 6-7 days a week. It's hard to be in that state 7 days, especially like in the W. Have you been to the WSOP, by the way?
Yeah. I'm gonna mention one thing before we move on. Is I want to mention a little bit about Caldo. I have not played much against Caldo. I don't have that much experience. I've played with him only a couple times. But I think a guy like Caldo, he's kind of built that character and he's built that strategy for many, many, many years. He's developed that strategy and he's learned how to play that way to his best ability. So he can have a lot of success doing a different strategy.
And he has a lot of success. His results,
he's a great player, I'm sure. Like I said, I don't have much experience against him. He has decent results, but he's developed a strategy over time that's worked for him. And I think I don't think you have to be necessarily just like super focused, super dialed in to be like a good poker player. I just think it helps me and it helps you too, Carl.
Yes, there's different styles, different forms. That's the beauty of poker. You can be studied, you can bring focus to the table, you can do everything right, eat right, work out, and have results. And you can be loosey-goosey, a people's person, talk about sports, watching TV, drink, and both people can have results. There's not one way. You can't be put in a box that if you don't do those things, you're going to be successful in poker, and if you don't, you're not going to be successful. There's a saying that there's more one way to skin a cat. I don't know why they want to skin the cat. That's brutal, but but there's not one way of being successful at poker. And there's one guy you mentioned, Frank Weigel.
Yeah,
Frank is the style. He's kind of like Caldo. Talks at the table. He's gonna talk to you, kind of become friends with you at the table, and exploit you at the same time. I think he's the opposite of us. I don't think he studies that much, but his people skills and reading ability are on point, and his results
very high level. Yeah,
very high level. He's so good at
for it. I'm gonna cut you off just for a second because I want to talk about this. Frank Weigel, I forget what he does. I think he owns a business or something. Very nice guy, very cool guy, good poker player. But he doesn't study, and he makes up for it a lot in other categories. Like his ability to live read his opponents is so good that he's making up for it and beating these studied players constantly just based on several attributes that he's really, really honed in. And that just goes to show you how much skill there is to poker. Like it's unbelievable how much skill there is to poker, you know?
Agree. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about some of the crushers here in Tampa.
You mentioned something before we move on. You asked me if I've been to the WSOP before.
Yeah.
I have been. I was this summer was the first. We're talking about Vegas, right? Not the circuit.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, not the stops.
Vegas was for the first time this summer. I was there for over a month. It was a long.
Did I see you this year? Did we see each other there?
I honestly don't remember seeing you, Carl. I
don't think I've seen you.
Just didn't pass by each other.
I mean, there are so many people at WSOP. It's easy to miss somebody, but yeah. I might have seen you like maybe in the at Paris or something, but
I was.
You know what? No, we played at the same table.
Yeah. You posted about this on your Facebook. Remember, we were in one of the 400 WSOP deep stacks.
Right. The daily. Yeah. Of course, I was at the table. Yeah,
I remember.
Okay. At what point? So you started in 2019. You had an online background. You were playing the free stuff. You jumped into live action, straight into tournaments. Basically, what year was your breakaway or breakout year when you started feeling that you can win at this game? What year was that? I can't believe how short your career has been. I thought you've been playing longer than that. So 2019, you jump in silks and you said you chopped the first 3 tournaments. What year?
2021. 2021
was the year that you thought you can beat this game?
No, 2021 was the first year I jumped into silks. What was that? Less than 3 years ago, I started playing. Was before I started playing my first live poker tournament.
So 2019 was all online, but the first live tournament was at Silks in 2021.
Yes.
Wow. So your career is nothing, like you're just still an infant in poker.
Still a baby for sure.
So 2020, what year did you feel like you can beat this game? And what year were you actually beating it on paper? And when did you start tracking?
I started tracking. So I mentioned that I started playing in 2021. I started hopping into a couple Silks tournaments, and I would do this in between shifts at my job working as at BJ's. I think it was, so that was April, and then only a couple months later, I decided. This was during COVID time. This was during all that mess. And then I quit my job about 2 months later. I had 1 month. I believe this was either June or July of 2021. So this is only 3 months later, where I made double what I made just playing. I made like 5 or 6 thousand in just the Silks tournaments in that 1 month. And this was only about 3 months like profit I made.
That was 2021.
2021, yeah. This was summer 2021, and I made 5 or 6 thousand in a month, which was double what I made working my shifts at the restaurant. And I was like, "Hey, man, I can do better playing poker. I quit. Thanks for everything, guys." And I just decided, like, I had a goal for myself. I had a goal. I told myself, "Hey, I'm gonna play poker for 1 year. I'm gonna make $50,000, and then I'm never gonna play poker again. I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna do something completely different. I'm gonna study finance and go from there." I really wasn't planning on playing poker for a long time. I was just planning to get in and get out.
Okay, so summer 21, you made money, you quit your job. Where do your parents fall in all of this? Did you have a support system? Like, I feel like to succeed in this game, you got to have somebody has to be supporting you, like believing in you. Like, hey, what were your parents' stance on that?
I think it's always been the case that my dad has always supported me in playing poker, and my mom has always been like, "I want you to go to college. I want you to get a degree." And I totally understand both sides. Like, my dad wants me like to be as happy as possible, and I think it's really hard in life to find something that you're both like good at to make enough money to support yourself, and also something that you love to do. And when it comes to poker, it's hard to find something that I could ever love doing more than just playing poker, man. It's truly a blessing.
What type of education you had before? At this point, you haven't been to college yet, right?
I've taken college courses, been to community. I started going to college, I believe when I was in 7th grade for like community college, like just to take credits in between like my regular education. But I never went to a full-time college.
When was the decision that you're not going to college anymore? You're going to pursue poker full-time? What year was that? 2021?
So yeah, I believe it was start of 2022. So this was the plan. So I moved to California from Florida, and this was during COVID time. And I told my parents, "Hey, I don't want to study during COVID. I don't want to take online classes. I'm a live person. I always enjoy like the live experience for everything. It's not just poker." So I told my parents, "Hey, I'm gonna, after COVID is over, I'm going straight to Wsop, and I'm gonna study, and then I'll go from there." And then yeah, I mean, I kept playing poker, and then that just preoccupied more and more and more of my time, and I never got that chance.
What Okay, so you made that decision. What year was your first year of like profiting? Was 2021 profitable?
I was always profitable. The first month I was profitable.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I never, like, as soon as I started playing poker, I was always profitable.
That's crazy to me because, like, a lot of the pros on TV, like Tom Dwan, will tell you a story like, "Oh, I deposited $500 in my online account and never looked back." Like, they built that 500 into a fortune. And that's hard to say because most players that play they're gonna have like 3, 4, 5 years of losing play. Then they study, get better, play more, get to break even players. They get to break even, and then they might start showing some profit, and then they take it to the next level if they're putting enough work, they have the work ethic, and you got to have a natural ability to play. Like you got to have natural talent to play poker. If you don't have the natural talent, you got to put the work, study more, play more. And some people will never get there. Some people will fight for years and just to barely break even. Some people, like you're saying, you're like, I mean, this is insane that your first year was profitable. If you don't mind me asking, like when you say profitable, what was it? Like 10K profit first year, 5K? Do you have a number or?
I want to say I played poker. So I started once again April, which was and I played for about 8 months or so that year. And I want to say it was about 25K of profit or so in that 8-month period of time playing those like really small buy-ins, those $55. I think I made about 25K.
That's sick. A 25K net. That's after buy-ins, everything.
After that's just complete profit.
Well, this is crazy. How about the consecutive year, like 2022, 2023? Were profitable also?
2022, I had a breakout year, and I had about I started documenting my poker like buy-ins and expenses in a notebook. I actually have it right next to me. A lot of people know this about me is I started writing in this notebook like pretty much from the start. Like people used to make fun of me back in Silks. They're like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking it so serious? This is just a game." And I was like, oh, I just want to, make sure like everything's on point. Everything I'm doing is right. And 2022, I made 180,000 in profit playing tournaments.
That's sick.
That was my breakout year.
As far as study background, what was your best material as far as studying? Like, was it Jonathan Little? Was it Upswing Poker? Was it a bunch of things? Was it watching poker? Was it studying material? What route did you take and what worked best for you?
I'm not going to lie. It's so much things. There's so much content that I've absorbed already through the years because it's pretty much all I do. Like when I come home, all I'm doing is finding new information, finding new websites, studying different stuff. I think that the things that really helped me in the beginning, I think I did it right, by the way, when it comes to studying poker. I started off with pokercoaching.com, Jonathan Little's site.
Really? Okay.
I think that's a great site for beginner players to learn how to play poker. And then recently, I've moved on to Jaka Coaching, and I think that's really good for me right now because Jaka Coaching has a lot more advanced material that I can study from. But I've done
you're doing Jaka Coaching? I didn't know that.
I just recently started maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Interesting. How much it cost a month to join Jaka?
Jaka's $100 a month.
100 a month.
Yeah.
And what took you to the next level? Like, was it like for me? It was Upswing. Once I started applying Upswing stuff, right when I started, studying Upswing and charts and the way Doug looked at the game and his, hand history breakdown, everything, just like it was an aha moment for me. Yeah. I looked at Jonathan Little like before solvers, like you said, it's very good for a beginner. I liked his approach to the game. But then when I studied Upswing, it was like a different, my chart went just like straight up.
Yeah.
But Jaka, I've listened to him break down his hands. I was impressed as of late. He's very, he mixes exploitative play with theory. So I like that aspect. I looked at Ben CB Masterclass. It was okay. I wasn't too impressed. The first masterclass from Upswing with Indian kid, forgot his name, Pratush Bediga. He had a masterclass before the second masterclass came out. That one took my game to the next level too. Jonathan Little, good also, even though they're talking shit about him now. I thought he was always good.
We were just talking about
Upswing just took my game to the next level. Okay, next question. Who's your group as far as like discussing poker in the community? Like who do you discuss hands with? Do you have like that one person that you go to that you trust their opinion? Nowadays you have solvers. Like back in the day, you would ask like 2-3 people about a hand history, and everybody would give you a different explanation, and you'd have to trust your gut. Now there's a software, you just plug the hand, and it will tell you exactly what to do. Even though some of the stuff, like we know sometimes it's GTO and it doesn't apply in real time, like some of the stuff could be correctly.
I still think you need like a couple people who there's no way you can be a poker player not have those few people who you trust the most with asking about hands, asking about information. I want to touch up on something that you talked about earlier. You talked about what took you to the next level, and you said for you it was upswing, and that's when you really started seeing those great results.
100%.
I want to say something. What took me to the next level, and it might shock a couple people, but what I'm gonna answer, but I don't think I've really ever taken my game until the next level until just like very recently, until like 6-7 months ago. And the thing that brought my game to the next level was talking to Shane Malert, Tampa Pro.
Yep.
Through him, through like some of the studying that I did with him, through the hands that I've discussed with him, all of the stuff that I've learned from him, he is like solely the reason. That's why I really think that he took my game to the next level, and we're going to start to see like my game really start to progress. I think I'm at the next level just now.
Shane, I'm impressed with his game. Definitely, he has a lot of experience, and his outlook on the game, like just breaking down a hand history with somebody, you know what level they're on, and Shane is definitely next level.
Yeah.
Just because he mixes exploits with theory. He even I think you told me that he studies multi-way pots on his own, because this is something you can't get information on from anywhere, which this is something I've done throughout the years, is try to see how to exploit players in like multi-way pots, which is tough to do. And I think you told me about like he was studying ranges in multi-way pots, like what hands to squeeze with and what hands to just flat with. So yeah, Shane, I respect Shane's game.
I would say Shane's the most studied player I've ever come across in Tampa poker. Like he's by far light years ahead of everybody else. Like he's so far ahead of everybody else, it's not even a joke. Or it's crazy. So, and I've always been I've been more of a live pro my entire career. I haven't really played much online. And so when I started talking to Shane, when I started learning through him, it really combines his mindset with my mindset. And it really just combined into this really like powerful force, I would say.
I like it. What's your ultimate goal with poker? Like, what's the ultimate goal? Is it, to make a certain amount a year? Is it to become a millionaire or retire? Like, what's the plan? Is there a plan long term, or are you just taking it step by step?
There's definitely a plan long term. I've never really cared about money. I never really spent money my whole life. I just put it to the side, or not really worried about it. It's never.
That's my next question: is money management.
Money management, yeah. It's never really been something that I've cared about or considered. The only goal for me is I really want to be like an elite poker player. You know, when you think of guys like Chidwick, when you think of guys like Chase and Kuhn, when you think of these types of players, like my dream is to be like playing, with these guys, and I want to do everything what it takes to get to that level. Like
I like it.
I don't care if I have zero money to my bank account. If I could say that I'm the best poker player and I play against those guys and compete against those guys, that's what I
want. Money management and bankroll management. How do you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you have any leaks, any gambling outside of poker, or you've always been good with money, or you've had leaks and you're working on them?
I would say I honestly think I'm really high up in this category, 9 out of 10. I never gamble on anything besides poker. Like I don't ever play any table games. I never am in the slot degenning anything. I don't sports bet. I like I said, I rarely spend my money for anything. I'm very focused on one thing and one thing only.
That's insane. That's really good, and not a lot of players can say that. I say that's the thing that's going to make you last in this game, is not having leaks, because bankroll management is literally a huge portion of being successful in poker, and people don't understand how important it is.
And when it comes to tournaments, and when it comes to like selecting which tournaments I play, I would say I'm probably a little bit too conservative with my bankroll management. I would probably prefer if I was a little bit more aggressive in the future, but I think that's a problem that can be fixed.
Yes. Okay. The local scene. What players do you respect and think it's hard to play against? So the people that we play against day in and day out. We're gonna have a list of Jimmy Farnsworth is gonna be proud of us. We're gonna have a list of 10 players here locally. That's gonna create some controversy, but that's fine. Controversy gets views. So as far as the local scene, can you name like 2 or 3 players that, you know, those players, like sometimes, you know, this guy has a lot of scores, you know, he knows what he's doing, but it's easy to play against. And then you have some other guy that's always putting you in spots, aggression at 100. So name like 2 or 3 players that's hard to play against, and they're always putting you in spots, putting, you know, having traps.
Yeah, I would say the players who are the hardest to play against for me are going to be, first of all, I think Shane Malert, very tough player, very capable in a lot of spots.
I can attest to that.
I respect his game a lot. He's really difficult. And I think another player that comes to mind a lot is Jovan Jojic, Serbian guy. I believe he's Serbian.
I think he's Serbian. Do you think Jovan is aggressive? I played with him a few times. I know he's studied. He's very, very solid player, but I didn't see the aggression factor with him.
I've seen it a lot. I think he's like very, very aggressive. Maybe that's just been my experience with him.
You have more history with him. I've only played 1 or maybe 3 times with him at the table.
Yeah, I've played with him quite a bit, and I would say he's extremely tough. He's, very difficult to play against.
So Shane, Jovan, and somebody else comes to mind?
Let me think about that. Who's the most difficult? I think it's hard to say because there's a lot of good players, but the most difficult players to play against is hard to say. I would say Jason Block definitely has to be up there for players who are difficult to play against.
Okay, besides them being hard to play against, how about players that you watch that you want to learn from? You know they're on another level, and when they're doing things at the table, you're watching because you're trying to learn from. Can you name 3 players?
I would say Fred Paradis. He has a very unique strategy, and I think it's very fun watching him play his game because it's very different. You know, it's somewhat unconventional, some of the strategies he employs into the game, but he does it with such like success. Like he does really well with it. I really respect his game.
It is different because he comes from a cash background, and he kind of like switched it to the successfully to tournaments.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a tight aggressive style.
Yeah.
That he took, like he would take spots and just like amp up the aggression with like top pair, top kicker, like something you would do in cash.
Yeah.
And just like bloat the shit out of the pot. But he knows that he's good at hand reading.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how to explain his strategy. It's not
hard to explain. It's very
hard to explain, but it's not tournament strategy. It's like he employed what he knows in cash, took it to tournaments, and took it to the next level.
I love watching it though, because it's so interesting to see all these people with like different strategies make it work. You know, it's fun to watch.
Another thing with Fred, he has good table presence, and he's like he gets in that trance. I've never seen him talk.